Perfect. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ruchi. I'm the Partner Services Coordinator at KidVantage. I'm super excited for the topic of today. And thank you so much for all of you who have RSVP'd and showed up for this amazing webinar. This is a cool topic that we are going to be discussing today, and it's about tool library. And it's like any other library. And then we have a speaker that is Josh Epstein. He's the Executive Director at Sustainable Northeast Seattle. He also manages the Northeast Seattle Tool Library. So, when I first met Josh and he started about his baby, that's the tool library. I would call this as your baby as well, Josh, okay? Apart from Cedar and your other pets and stuff. So he talked about this library and I was like, oh, this seems super cool. And our partners would definitely enjoy listening to you, Josh, and then also learn more about the tool library. So basically, like how we would have a book library, Josh brings a tool library, and this was a cool resource that I thought would be beneficial for our partnering organizations and also the recipients that you serve through your programs, the clients that you serve. So without wasting much time and going on and on talking about what Josh shared about his work, his program, his organization, I'm going to let Josh talk and share this wonderful resource with our community. So, Josh, I would request you to get started.
Fantastic. Thanks, Richie. I appreciate it. And I really appreciate the invite and everybody taking a moment to hear about my program. And hopefully it's something that's really interesting to you all, both personally, but also something that the communities that you are serving could benefit from. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully that works. Is that being seen? Great. Okay, so I'm going to go through this and feel free to think about questions, put them in the chat. I'll get to them later, or unmute. I'm fine with just unmute yourself and interrupt me is also totally fine. I prefer questions than just speaking the whole time. I'm pretty passionate about this, so I can talk for a while, but I'll try to keep it to the point and relevant to what you all are doing. So yeah, my name is Josh Epstein, and there's my email address. I can put that into the chat later. northeastseattletoollibrary.org. I also put that in the chat if you want to check out our website. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. I had this thing. There's our building. It's the La Villa Dairy. This is in Seattle off of Lake City Way and about 102nd. Just about 5 minutes north of the U District and 5 minutes south of Lake City area. Today, I'm going to talk about who we are, who my organization is, where we're coming from, what we're doing right now, and then most importantly, how we want to be involved in the greater community and specifically your communities. But if you ever see that building, we're around the back. We're open some random hours that I'll tell you about later, but you should come by. I'd love to give anybody who's interested a tour. That's the only way to really understand what we're actually doing in that space. So who we are is a pretty small staff. I am the executive director, as Richie said, and the manager at the Tool Library, which is our flagship program. We also have a new program that I'll get into that we're starting more north of Seattle, and different educational options that we provide as well. We have a staff of 3, including myself, so 2 other coordinators. We also have a new intern who actually is joining this call, Anna Marie Wing, who we're very excited is going to be from UW and is going to be working on doing some research into outreach to underserved communities. We have a board of 7. We have an amazing volunteer community of over 100, and we have a member community of around 2,200 and growing. And we've served over 11,000 in our 10-year history. We're a community-built nonprofit where tools and knowledge are accessible to everyone, regardless of income. And that's really the key, is like we serve everyone, from folks that don't have homes or jobs to CEOs of major tech companies. And we're doing all this to reduce our collective consumption through sharing, repairing, and reuse. Just a real brief history of where we're coming from. And I'll actually start before this. Just some people asked, where did we get this idea? Like, tool libraries, what a smart idea to lend stuff other than books. And really, this is much older than us. We're not the first one in Seattle. Finney Ridge actually had one, still has one. So does West Seattle. West Seattle started before that. But sharing tools and resources is old, ancient as our civilization, really. So we're just trying to do it in a more modern way with new technologies to actually serve people. But really, when we're talking about tools, we're just talking about anything that helps somebody do something else. So I'll get into what our tools include, but it's probably a lot of stuff you might not think of as tools. We actually started our tool library in 2013. Sustainable Northeast Seattle started in 2008, but we got a grant to start this from Cleanscapes 2013. We won an award shortly after that for a nonprofit recycler. We were able to hire our first paid coordinator a year after that. We had a burglary 2 years after that, and as can be the case sometimes, it ended up being a huge boon for us because we got all this publicity and tons of donated tools and more members. And not that I'd ask for another robbery, but that worked out. We were able to hire our second coordinator in 2016. We were in this church that was free for a while, and then we ended up losing that space, moved into our new home at the La Villa Dairy in 2018. And we've been there ever since. We got an extension in 2021 for 5 years. We're trying to stay there as long as we can. But we're also doing really well. We're trying to expand. And the more space we have, the more tools and more materials we can keep out of the landfill and in the hands of people that could actually use them. We have been growing exponentially, loaning more and more tools. This year, we just hit 260,000 loans. So these are individuals taking out a tool, using it instead of buying their own tool and having to store it. So like Ruchi said, this is like a book library, but for tools. So we're doing this so that people can save money, save space, save time, and hopefully save the planet in our own little way. People come for a lot of different reasons. I would say saving money is generally the main reason, or at least the top option. All these other ones are extremely important. That I think is what usually drives most people to actually come into our door. We are doing it mostly. Our top value is sustainability, but sustainability is not just environmental, it's also economic sustainability and social sustainability for our community. So let's get into how it works, and then I will talk about what we actually have there, and then and how we can hopefully support you all. And again, I just want to remind folks, if you want to just unmute, stop me at any time if you have any questions or thoughts about this. So a member or member organization signs up for a membership. So it can be an individual. Most often it is just somebody signs up. You can sign up online. It's really easy. It takes about 5 minutes. We also do offer member organizations, an organization membership. And the reason why we do this is to, one of the things that we need from somebody is an ID so that we can actually track down folks if the tool gets stolen, which is very rare. And we end up not really tracking down people, but the idea is that it's some kind of accountability. That being said, we sometimes work with folks that don't have IDs. Refugee communities is a good example. And so what we can do is offer an organization a membership. They become responsible for their members who use the tool library, and they can give out a certain amount of memberships to their trusted community members to be able to use our space and not have an ID and not have to do a donation. Speaking of donations, we ask for optional donations. It's on a sliding scale. They range from $0 to $1,000 per year per person. The average is about 50 per person, but no one is turned away because of financial reasons. Like you can have zero money and we want you to be included. And we make that work by having really low overhead, really making sure that we're relying on volunteer employment, for instance. And we also just have a high volume of people with 2,200 members. And so some people pay that $1,000 and some people, that allows people to pay the $0. Like I said, you can bring your ID or your organization card. You borrow the tool for free for 1 to 4 weeks. There is one exception, pressure washers. They break so much that we ask for $10 for that one loan. Otherwise, totally free. And then you bring it back when you're done and you pick up more tools, just like a library. I'm going to get into some of the stuff that we have just so you have an idea of what we can offer. So this is not all of our 8,000 tools, obviously. You can look at our inventory online, but want to get a sense of how broad the spectrum of what we call tools are in our space. So there's the power tools that you might expect, many different kinds of saws, drills and drivers, sanders. We also have in the middle, you'll see a power driver that says power. That's actually a toy tool. So we actually get donations and buy like used toy tools so that kids can start messing around with that kind of thing. We have the hammers and screwdrivers. We also have automotive. You can see that jack lift on the bottom. We have torque wrenches and other automotive stuff. We also have bike mechanic tools, miter saws, the thing with the 134 there, that's a multimeter for electrical work. We also have plumbing tools and drain augers. And then a tile saw over on the right. We have all sorts of really niche tools. So for drywall or different kinds of flooring or tiling, things that we try to have a little bit of everything, but especially tools that people don't want to have to buy because they're going to use them one time, or maybe they're going to have to, they don't want to have to store them or maintain them. But what else? We also have landscaping tools. Some of our more popular examples here, we have a extension hedge trimmer, we have string trimmers, lawn mowers, pressure washers, tampers, shovels, chainsaws, axes, many other things. We've lent out a lot of landscaping equipment at one time to partnering organizations that maybe are doing a volunteer day and they're working on their lawn, or they're doing a community garden, and we'll lend them all the stuff they need to do the landscaping and to build the garden beds.
I have a question.
Yes.
Maybe I missed it already. Is there a limit on the number of tools that an individual member can
use? The
use?
first time they take things out, we ask them that they take out no more than 4 or 5 tools, depending on the size of the tools. Like if it's more high quality, maybe 4. Smaller tools, they can be 5 for the first time. And we do that just to limit, because usually when people have not returned tools, it's usually the first time that they take out tools. But after they have done it for a time or two, then there's literally no limit. People have taken out dozens of shovels at the same time so that they can do a huge work party. We've had people that are renovating houses and check out 50 tools. We do need them back, and so we send reminders to make sure they're back.
Awesome.
Yeah, as many as you want. Sure.
Josh,
yes.
your voice seems a little bit shaky. I don't know if everybody is experiencing that.
Let me try without my headphones and see if this is better. All right.
Is that all right?
Oh, wow. This is so much better. Yes.
Sorry, I wish I had been doing that the whole time. Thanks for telling me, Richie. That's good. So was there anything that I said that maybe didn't come out clear, and anybody has questions about something I said? Okay, good. Sounds like maybe it was understandable enough.
I would request you repeat something around the membership cost, or how they can
yes.
Yeah, because this is very important and it was still shaky at that time. So
yes, sure. So Yeah, people become members. You don't have to donate anything. We do ask for an ID, though. The important thing I think for you all potentially is that if your folks don't have an ID, we can do a deal with you, or your organization has a membership, and you can give out a certain amount of memberships, and we'll have a way that we can tell that it's from your organization and they've been signed off, and then you all would be responsible for the tools while that member has taken them out. Sliding scale, don't need to show any proof of your financial means. We take it on word. It ranges from $0 to 1,000. The average is about 50. We do have a suggested student and senior rate as well. Yep, that's that. Let's go back to, okay, so it gets more random. We have, hopefully you come into the space, because I'd love to show you around, but there is just so much stuff, and it gets pretty random. We have upholstery cleaners and carpet cleaners, steam cleaners, pressure cookers, sewing machines, and leather work. We have a whole catering supply, and we have party tents, chafing dishes. We've had people get married and just use all of our plates and dishes and tablecloths. We don't have a ton of tables and chairs, but we have some. I think we have 10 tables, folding tables, and about 20 chairs and some stools. So people can have events. We've helped out other nonprofits that are doing events. I don't have the stuff that they need. We have food dehydrators, apple cider presses that you can take home or to an event or actually use in our parking lot. And we don't do reservations for most tools, but these kind of tools, the apple cider presses and the event things, we do because it's necessary for folks to know, I'm going to have 3 party tents and 50 plates for my fundraiser coming up or something like that. We've also helped small businesses get started. For instance, some younger folks that were starting a landscaping business, and they didn't have all the shovels and pickaxes and that stuff that they need. So we lent that to them while they were getting going. Similarly, we've it hasn't worked out as well as we wanted at this point, but we were very interested in helping. If somebody wanted to get a catering business going, maybe we could lend out the catering stuff for a certain amount of time so that they could get off the ground until they could afford their own tools. Yeah, I recommend checking online our inventory so you can see the whole breadth of items that we have there. On top of that, we have a beautiful wood shop. Some of our nicer tools that don't make as much sense to lend out, we keep in our wood shop. Members can take an orientation class with us, and all our classes are also on suggested donation. We ask for $25 for that, and then to rent the space out, it's also $25 an hour. But again, we try not to turn anybody away because of finances. And when you rent the space, it also comes with one of our shop stewards who is an experienced woodworker who works right alongside the member and helps them with their project. So highly subsidized. If anybody's familiar with renting spaces like this, $25 an hour is by far the cheapest you'd find. And then, especially getting basically a tutor along with you.
How many people does that space fit for classes?
It depends on the class. Like if you're doing woodwork in there, you can fit 8 people comfortably. But you do have to be very aware of who's around you. We've also done classes where we're just talking and we can get 20 people in there if you're not using power tools. The orientation classes that we do are really limited because we want to make sure that people have fully understand the safety of the tools. So those are, depending on the instructor, either 2 or 3, 1 to 3 people.
Okay, thank you.
So we also have some other stuff that has come and gone. We do fixer nights sometimes. With COVID, a lot of this stuff has slowed way down, but we do tool sharpening, especially in the spring. We'll do like garden tool maintenance. there's a lot of folks in this community that are into gardening. We'll have a cider press party in the fall. And we just try to keep it's not just about the tools, it's also about the community. So we try to have other events that are helping keep things out of the landfill and also strengthening the community. Then we have our bike shack, which comes with membership. You get to use the bike shack, and we'll have experienced bike volunteers, bike mechanics that are there at least 2 days a week, Saturdays and Thursdays. Sometimes we have them on our other shifts, Tuesdays and Sundays. And how it works is you come in with your bike and you work on the bike along with the mechanic. And it's just donation based. We have some basic parts, but it's mostly just tune-ups and that kind of thing. And some pretty experienced folks, like we have one of our head mechanics has actually owned their own shop for many years and retired, but still wanted to stay involved. So now just volunteers with us to help fix community bikes. We've had awesome. Oh yeah.
Sorry, I have lots of questions.
Please.
So if they needed something more than what you guys had, let's say it needed a new chain on their bike, and if they purchased the chain and brought it with them, is that okay?
Yep, that's great. That's often recommended. Sometimes people email or call and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Do you have this part, or should I bring in this part? And you can help me install it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, we also have a partnership with BikeWorks, Cascade Bicycle Club, that has even access to more tools and more bikes and stuff. And so one thing been talking about with KidVantage is getting
all thought they could do the same.
Is getting some of the
people comment stuff. We invented wearing that 10 years ago, and that would have been dead.
might need to mute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to mute everybody now. Sorry.
Thanks. Yeah, so they are looking at getting some bikes that don't fit their community because they work with like middle school and up, to get some younger, smaller bikes for KidVantage to then distribute out to you all. So hopefully in the next year or so, we're going to do some big fixer event at some point where we can fix some of those bikes up and have a bike giveaway to some of your communities. We also have a seed library, which is super fun, small little shelving unit that just has a ton of different seeds. People come in, take whatever seeds they want for free, leave extra seeds that they have. Simple as that. Then the next thing I wanted to tell you about is a new project that we're working on. We've gotten a little bit of funding and we're looking for more, and we're also looking for the right location. And so what this is the North King Tool Library and Reuse Center. And this is basically a waste reduction hub. So this would have not only the tool library, but second use building supplies, a larger education fix-it shop, classroom and community workshop. And we're trying to create a pilot space in probably the shoreline area that would be 2,000 to 4,000 square feet, and it would prove that this combination of programs would work really well together. And from there, we'd build it into a much bigger thing where we'd bring in other organizations, maybe Seattle Recreative that does second use art supplies, and Refugee Artists and Alliance that works with refugee women to take old fabrics and burlap sacks and fire hoses and all sorts of stuff to make high-end bags and clothing. Basically bring all these organizations together so we can create more efficiency and have a place where people can bring more stuff to get rid of and get more stuff sustainably. So more to come on that, but I want to give you the heads up on that, because that leads to, I think, the most important slide, which is how to get involved. So how you can get involved with us, but also like how we can get involved with you. I'm just looking at before I get into this, I want to look at the chats. Do we have barbecues available? No, we don't. That's a great idea. And we'd be open to that. Like, this is how our inventory grows, is somebody's like, what about this? If that's interesting to you, if that's something that you would use, shoot me an email. And Joshua J. Epstein at gmail.com, and we could talk about what that would look like, how often you might need that. But I'd be curious if other folks would find barbecues useful. It's a good idea. The other question was, what happens if a tool breaks? It depends. If it's just normal wear and tear, no problem. We'll take it back. We'll try to fix it. We'll recycle the parts if we can't. These tools get used hundreds of times. So often when it breaks, it was just its time, and it was unfortunate that it happened when you were using it. If it was like real obvious user error, you had a power drill and you're using it to pry off some concrete, and it broke, and that's not what it's used for, then we ask that you replace that tool or make a donation at the cost for us to replace it. Similar, if a tool is lost or stolen in your care, we ask that you either replace it or donate the money that would cover that for us. Okay, so some ways that you can get involved or that you could help us out and that we might hopefully can help you out is, the first is just tell your community about the Northeast Seattle Tool Library. We want to be serving your community. The next level of that is starting, if you feel like your members need more support in getting into the tool library, we're happy to give tours. We're happy to do a presentation just like this for your community. And we're also happy to help you start a organization membership. We will ask for a donation, but it's all optional. It really truly is. But it does help us pay for the tools, pay for the repairs, pay for our staff, all that kind of thing. So we can, depending on how many members you anticipate to be using our library, we can work out a deal that works within your budget and can help us a bit. Like I said, we can do tours, we can do presentations. And then the last thing that I wanted to put out there, and I'm going to share this in the chat, is that we are doing a survey about this new space that we're doing up north. And we really need a lot of feedback to know that we are doing the right thing, that we are having the right kinds of tools. Is it cleaning tools? Is it power tools? Is it lawn and garden? What is actually useful for your communities? And so my request would be that you take this link that I'm sending out right now and pass it around. We're trying to get 1,000 community members to fill this out, and we want to hear mostly from less resourced folks with maybe lower incomes, to make sure that that's the population that we're actually designing this for. So with that, I've got this last question of, how can we remove barriers for your community? Like, how can we support your community is what I would like to know the most. And so just want to open it up for questions and ideas. And I'm going to stop presenting here, and I will put my my email in the chat, but please unmute. Let me know, where do you see barriers for this and how might we remove those? And what other questions do you have? Maybe I answered everything.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if we were unmuted yet. So for our community, one of the big barriers is finances, obviously, and it sounds like you guys have already removed that barrier. Identification might be one of the barriers for a few, but I'm at the Salvation Army Renton Rotary Food Bank in Renton, and so we actually have food bank cards that kind of look like a Costco card, if you will, only much smaller print. But we could print their photo on there. It has their name, and then obviously it has the Salvation Army, so that they could probably use that as ID through a membership.
That's
an organization membership, right?
Yep, that's perfect. And I do want to mention, so being all the way down in Renton, sometimes the barrier is just location.
Yeah.
And we are not officially affiliated, but loosely affiliated with 10 other tool libraries in the area. So there's actually a Federal Way. It's called the South King Tool Library. And there's one in South Seattle. There's one in Tacoma, West Seattle, Capitol Hill, Vashon. So if you just Google tool libraries near me, you should be able to find one near you. Not that we don't want you up here, and we because of our space, we're able to offer the most variety of tools, but sometimes coming all the way from Renton up to us is not worth the hassle.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for that information.
Let me ask y'all this then. Does this seem like something that would be useful for your community? And if so, in what way?
Hi, my name's Erin. I think it would be very useful. Just because I think people don't really know that they can borrow these tools to start with, but then just the expansive amount of other things, especially for events, or I was kind of the one who mentioned barbecues. There's just kind of a random question. I don't have any like idea that what it would be necessarily for, but maybe they want to have family over and want to have a barbecue or things like that. Oh, I had a question on top of that and now I just forgot it. Oh, yes, now I know. I work in the school district.
Mhm.
So advertising would be like parent newsletters, different things like that. Do you have a very short blurb that we could utilize to share about the tool library?
Yes, I do. Maybe the best thing to do would be
I can email you.
that would be great. Then I can send an easy attachment. I would say anybody that is interested in getting like a flyer or one page or a blurb, send me an email and I will happily send that out.
Okay. And does that say like, did you know that we also have chafing dishes, or just the kind of some of the random stuff on it? Or is it just more talk about tools?
It's more about tools, but I could also make you something more specific. And also I could even give you this this presentation, this Google presentation, if that's useful for folks.
Yeah, I mean, I could always pull information from it too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Sure. See, somebody asked, do you visit food banks? I have visited food banks. What would I guess it'd be, what would be the purpose of, like, to be like for classes or for yeah, what would be the purpose of the visit?
Oh, just to advertise the tool
Just
library,
advertising,
so
yeah.
they know that
Yes.
it exists.
Totally. We have come to food banks and passed out flyers and stuff, and we're interested in doing that for sure. Seeing this needs to come up in a couple of ways with DV survivors. So I think access to this can definitely bring value, especially for our folks who are moving and need things to get their home set up. Great, cool. Yeah, and I think one of the barriers really is like not knowing about it, but also not knowing that they're like welcomed in the space. I think that sometimes people don't hear about it, but when they hear about it, they don't know that it's pretty accessible financially, and in like, you don't need to know anything about tools. Like, everybody's welcome. So that's one thing I really want to make sure that you all know, that I would love for you to pass on to your community, is that we try to be as welcoming of a space as possible to everybody that wants to come and use this stuff, or gain knowledge there. So like, that is one thing I'm also always interested in hearing about. Like, I think that's a great reminder and suggestion of coming into food banks, but like, I would happily come to your spaces if I was invited to, or one of my volunteers to help spread this word.
So I know that you guys are a tool library. Do you guys ever receive donations that might help them? Let's say a renter is moving out and they need maybe like the spackling, I don't know what it's called, the stuff you use to fill holes in drywall or repair drywall.
Like the materials.
Materials.
We are working on getting the space for materials. Right now, we're really focused on the tools, but that new space that we're trying to create is going to be an experiment with what it would look like to have the tools and the materials in one area. So we can't, not at this point. We have like, the closest we come to that is like screws and nails, sandpaper and extra saw blades. But yeah, not like spackle.
I mean, what you guys do is amazing enough, right?
Well, thank you.
Just thought I'd ask.
You can
I've
do
got a
more.
family in that situation, so
Sure.
thank you.
Yeah.
Josh, did you mention if there's a limit on the number of items you can borrow at once?
Yeah, I was saying that for the first loan, we asked the only take out about 4 tools.
Okay.
And then after that, there's no limit, especially if it's an organization. We really want, like, we've had some folks that are doing like a fundraiser or community garden, and they'll take out dozens of tools, and that's fine.
Thank you.
See a question, do you offer any instruction education around typical home repairs? We do. We have about quarterly, we do like basic home maintenance classes. Sometimes we do specialty tool classes for like, intro to power tools has been a popular class, or how to use maybe a more specific tool like a router. And then we also do classes as they like are requested. We'll look for instructors, or an instructor will come to us and say, hey, I'm a roofer, I'm going to talk about patching a roof. And then we also have monthly orientations to our workshop. And then somebody asked if we have flyers in different languages. We have it we do. We have our main flyer, and then on the back we have it translated into many languages. I can't tell you what we have right offhand. Then we have like a bigger flyer that's actually fully translated into Spanish.
Can we get copies of those flyers, or at least a
Yeah.
digital copy, and we can print?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So Josh, I would request you, if possible, I'll connect with you, and then if you can share those flyers with me. I will also share it with rest of the partnering organizations, so that for those folks who could not join in today, I will share the presentation link and also the flyers along with that.
Perfect. Yep. I'll make sure to send that. I'll send that off right after this.
Sure. Okay, any more questions? Feedback?
Okay. Well, thanks, Ruchi, and thanks everybody for hearing about the tool library, and hope to see you come in, use it personally, use it professionally, and just reach out if you have any ideas or you're interested. Just let me know.
Sure. Thank you so much, George. This was so informative. And then as I had heard you for the first time, I knew that this is going to be a super, super exciting talk. And I'm glad that the providers were able to join in, our partnering providers. And then there were so many questions. I'm so excited. This is great. And Josh has shared his email with you all. So if you have any follow-up questions, suggestions, anything that you want to share with him, feel free to connect with him. And then he's an amazing human being, and wants to, extend help as much as he can. That is what I can share from my first interaction with him. So I on behalf of our partners, Josh, would like to wish you all the best for this amazing work that you're doing in the community, and for your expansion as well. We hope that you have more such libraries accessible to more and more community members. And with that, thank you so much, our providers, for your time. Share the word about the tool library with whoever would be, benefited from this. And I will continue to look for some interesting topics and bring on some experts to chat with you. So with that, thank you so much. And look forward to follow-up email from me about this session. Josh, I think there is one question. Let's see. or she just wanted to share something. Marissa.
Looks like somebody just joined as a member. Fantastic. Love it.
Great, great, great. Wow, this is super cool. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Josh, I'll connect with you offline.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.